Today we celebrate a very important day in Egyptian history, the day of Sinai liberation. Dear viewers, Sinai currently during the reign of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi witnesses an unprecedented broad development. It aims to improve the living condition of citizens in North Sinai and South Sinai governorates by exploiting all available resources to promote Sinai to the ranks of investment attraction areas, which would in turn play a very important role in the elimination of intellectual terrorism as an inevitable result of construction and reconstruction. All state bodies, on top of which is the armed forces, take part in development processes. And in this context, dear viewers, we are of course very happy to have with us our distinguished guest, Dr. Amr Hamid, Professor of Economics. A very good day, sir, and it's a pleasure to have you with us in today's episode of Nile Cruise.
It's always my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Doctor, Sinai development is a matter of national security. How do you read this, or what is your motto on this?
To start with, when you say Sinai, this brings a lot of very profound and nice nostalgia because my experience with Sinai goes back to 1973. More precisely, October 6, 1973, when we captured Sinai back, and very few years afterwards, maybe I don't remember exactly, but maybe 75, 76, 1975, 76. At that time, I was among the very first few young people at that time who decided to go and explore Sinai. And I remember that we went through all Sinai, starting from crossing the Suez Canal and then going south to El Tor, Sharm el Sheikh, and then to the Gulf of Aqaba, up to Dahab, and then Nueva, and then up to even the borders at that time with Israel. So to me, Sinai represents a very dear part of Egypt. Let's remember first of all that Sinai represents at least 6% of the total area of Egypt. And more important, Sinai lies in Asia, surprisingly. We all know that Egypt is part of Africa, part of the Mediterranean, but Sinai is the only part that belongs 100% to Asia, and this gives Egypt an edge to claim that we not only belong to Africa, but we also belong to Asia. Of course, if you want to speak about investment opportunities in Sinai, we can go much deeper of what are the opportunities in front of Egypt to explore and to invest in this very dear part and very rich part of Egypt. We can also speak about the challenges. There are a lot of challenges because Sinai is not only a border between Egypt and the western neighbors, if I may say, but it's also a border, or not only a border, but a cornerstone between three very important continents: Africa, Asia, and Europe. It's also connecting two very important oceans, or seas if you want, the Mediterranean and the Red Sea. And at the same time, Sinai owns two very important smaller seas, the Gulf of Suez and the Gulf of Aqaba, at the same time. So this is the geniusness of the location itself.
The location of Egypt in total.
The location of Egypt, and more precisely Sinai itself.
Because what makes Egypt very important to the entire world?
Of course.
Its geographical location.
Of course, yeah. Well, if you want to speak about the location of Egypt, there is no doubt that Egypt occupies the most important corner of the whole world.
exactly.
Yeah, so this is very important, and at the same time, Egypt is, if you want to define Egypt, it's an African country, it's an Arab country, it's a Mediterranean country, it's a Muslim Christian country, it's a pharaonic country. So, I mean, as much as you want to elaborate about Egypt, it's a mixture of a lot of civilizations and cultures that is very unique, if you want, vis-a-vis all the other countries of the world. And the cornerstone here is Sinai.
Perfect. Sir, we said that what are the measures needed to improve the living conditions in Sinai? We
Okay.
discussed the national security, of
Yeah,
course.
well, let's speak about both the national security and improving the, if you want, the residential conditions of Sinai. Let's start with the second point first, because the national security is obvious, but we can elaborate on it.
I'm Dr. Amr. I'm from Arish, and I love Sinai so much, and it's very dear to me as an Egyptian citizen, and I'm very proud I'm from this very special place in our country. So it means a lot to me to know everything about it, and to let every person that's watching this episode know
Yeah.
more about it, and about the development in
Yeah.
Sinai, and of course in Egypt.
Okay, it's a very nice surprise that you are from Arish, which is again a city that is very dear to me. I visited Arish more than once, although I do go to South Sinai more because of the security conditions, of course. But let's start first, since you are from Arish, then you know that the population of Sinai in general are more Asians than, well, to be more precise, are more West Asians than Africans. And this is a very important point in resolving the conflict between how the government is more or less approaching the challenges of the people of Sinai. I don't think that we do understand the difference here, because when I say West Asia, because Asia is a huge continent and we cannot just say Asia, we have to say West Asia, which means Arab countries mainly, Lebanon, Syria, this is Saudi Arabia, of course, the Gulf, Turkey, more or less. This is West Asia. And then there is, of course, Southeast Asia, which is totally different culture. And there is South Asia, like India and Pakistan. And there is North Asia, like Russia, for example, and the countries around Russia. So Sinai belongs only to West Asia, which is Arab mainly, but Arab with two roots, different from the rest of Egypt. Because Egypt, by definition, is a peasant country. We are peasants. And we are Mediterraneans. But if we speak about Asia and west of Sinai, then we are speaking about Bedouins. It's a Bedouin culture. It's a Bedouin civilization, or mountain civilization, like Lebanon, for example. Syria, a little bit of Syria. Part of Turkey is mountain. So the culture and the civilization of the mountain dwellers and the desert dwellers, more specifically the Bedouins, is totally different from the peasant. Why? For example, let's take an example. Bedouins and mountain dwellers are more risk takers than the peasants.
Because of the situations also they went through, and of course it's difficult. The circumstances were difficult. So
Exactly.
This made them more of these characters that they became.
Exactly. It's totally different from the character of most of the Egyptians who are peasants. I mean, the style of life of the peasant is very much relaxed. He's used to throw the seeds in the land, and then he waits for the seeds. Maybe he will do some efforts of irrigation, but at the end of the day, he's going to get the plants and the fruits. And this is not the typical life of the Bedouins or the mountain dwellers which exist in Sinai. So it's very important that we understand this. It's a different genes. The genes are not the same, but but we all belong to the same country, which is Egypt. So you cannot just pretend that you understand the civilization and the genes and the culture of the Egyptians who live in Sinai if you're going to treat them like the peasants.
This is the problem and the obstacle that faces me, Dr. Amr.
Of
That
course.
people here in Egypt and the Egyptian citizens do not understand the difference between the peasants, as you said,
Yeah.
and the Bedouins, and the importance of the Bedouins, because they see that Bedouins are Bedou. They under they try to always, or they, this is how they foresee it. It's not underestimating, but this is how they read it. They don't understand the
Yeah.
difference and the definition of each individual and the meaning of each individual. Bedouins fought terrorism. They fight terrorism every day, every single second
Yeah.
in their lives.
Yeah.
They're sitting in the middle of a bomb
Yeah.
that bursts anytime.
Yeah. Okay, before we go into the bomb part, let's compare the Bedouins of Egypt with the Bedouins of Saudi Arabia, because Saudi Arabia up till now, the Gulf, all the Gulf, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Kuwait, Iraq, all these countries deep inside, like we are deep inside peasants, they are deep inside Bedouins till now. That's why they are more risk takers. The Saudis are much more risk takers than the Egyptians. The Gulf even more. The Kuwaitis even more. So if you want to really compare between the Bedouin culture and the peasant slash Mediterranean culture, you have to look at it in a parallel, equal level. You cannot put it anyway in sort of vertical. No, it is not vertical. It's horizontal. If you understand the Saudis and you know how to deal with the Saudis, with the Emirates, with the Kuwaitis, then you should be in a much better position to understand how to include, how to attract the people of Sinai. This is very important. Going to the bomb part, yes, of course, I will come to that because it's very important to realize that Sinai per se has always been a turbulent location throughout history since the time of the Prophet till now. And I remember now a story that was said. It was not a hadith, but it was a story that after Islam was sort of settled down, the Prophet started sending missions to different countries. Like we know that they went to Ethiopia, for example, they went to Taif, they went to Egypt, they went to even further to the north. But part of the missions, they came to this area, which is, at that time, it was north of Sinai and Palestine and Lebanon as one mission. And they came back to the Prophet and they told him, we found very weird people in these areas. So he said, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, what happened? He said, these people, they wake up in the morning and they start fighting, and before they sleep, they sit together, drink and have fun together, and go to sleep. And then the next day, they start fighting again. And then at the end of the day, they become friends and happy and families, and they even marry from each other. And the third day, they fight again. So the Prophet said something very wise. He said, leave them. They will stay like this till the end of time. So, and here I'm not speaking about the people, I'm speaking about the location itself. Sinai has always been a turbulent area, and it will continue to be a turbulent. It's very difficult. So why? Because of the geographic differences in Sinai, which does not exist in the rest of Egypt. Sinai has very high mountains and very low land, and it's overlooking seas, and it's different climate. Everything is different. It's, of course, as I said, it's a cornerstone of 3 continents, and let's not really go into deep into speaking about our direct neighbors who are not to be trusted, of course, and our experience with them for thousands years is that it's very difficult to trust them. So Sinai will continue to be like this.
Dr. Amr, I just want to ask you a question here. Is it possible that the North Coast could and North Sinai can one day, as an economic, of course, professor in economics, and of course, we know that tourism is added value to any country and is one of the main incomes of any country. Do you think that one day the North Coast can be, North Sinai can be like the North Coast? As a touristic site, of
Okay, this is a
challenging question.
It's not challenging. It's a bit of okay. Let's say it's a challenging question because I know that you are from Arish, so I will try to be diplomatic here.
Don't try to be diplomatic, B.
But
I don't want you to. I want you to be neutral.
Yeah, okay. I'll do my best. Because
It's a dream that I want to come true. It might not come true. Not everything that we desire
of course,
we get.
yeah, of course. But the problem is that economic theories cannot be broken. And there is an economic theory which I'll try to make it in a very easy terminology. It's a theory that we learned in kindergarten economics. It says capital is coward. And there is no way to break this. Capital is coward is very basic in economics. And we just explained a little bit earlier in this program that this region is very turbulent and only God knows how long it's going to stay like this. So you're not going to break the rule. This is why, but you can always be clever as a government and try to find solutions. And this is why this is what I tried to explain when I said, yes, we can have tourism, but not 5-star tourism. We can go for 1-star, 2-star camps. Let's not hit the richest tourists in the world. We can bring them to the north coast, the northwest coast, like Al Alaymin, like Sidi Abdul Rahman, like Marasi, like Ras Al Hikma now. But to invite capital to go into Sinai, it's not easy. It's not easy at all. But we can always do, as I said, lower capital tourism, if I may say. So that's one thing. And we also spoke about opportunities for some kind of agriculture in the area. We can have only light industries, of course. This is what I can see. Let's not forget also tourism in the center of Sinai. That's very important. The mountainous area and St. Catherine and all this area, which will no doubt attract religious tourism. Of course, we can promote religious tourism throughout all Sinai. But let me give you a clue. Since you insist that we should do something for Sinai, I'm going to give you a clue here. What we can do is maybe establish something like a city-state in Sinai. A city-state like, for example, Liechtenstein in Europe, like Andorra in Europe, like Gibraltar between the very southern western part of Europe and Africa, and some other city-states in Latin America. So why not establish a city-state in Sinai, a small Egypt, and invite. I would not recommend that the government puts any capital there. And I'm damn sure that Egyptian businessmen are not going to put any investments there. But you can always invite foreigners to put some kind of investments in this city-state, which will be, let's say, I would recommend to put it at the very border of Sinai, Rafah, for example. And it can go east, and it can go west as much as you want, 20, 30, 40 kilometers west of Rafah, inside Sinai, inside Egypt. And you just declare that we are going to establish a city-state there, and all what the government is going to provide is the basic infrastructure, like electricity, water, sewage system, division of land for construction, things, that's all. That's all. And invite FDI, foreign direct investments, to come and put whatever they want in this area. But of course, if you want to establish a city state, it has to be established with a special law only for this city state, which will it will be like a haven center, no taxes, or maximum 5% taxes. Wild tourism activities, and I'm not going to elaborate on this. I just leave it to you to imagine what I mean by wild tourism activities in this area. You can even use it, this small city state, you can even use it as an incubator for big Egypt, for the bigger Egypt. Any project that you want to try in Egypt, why don't you try it first in this incubator, and if it succeeds, then you apply it to Grand Egypt. If it does not succeed, then you throw it in the Mediterranean. So that's, and by the way, not only for Egypt, you can even invite other countries if they want to use our Egyptian incubator in Rafah, in Sinai, to try any kind of investments. They're most welcome. They can come and try it there. Put the rules, put the law for this city state, and use it as an incubator for Egypt and for other countries to try whatever kind of investments they want to test. So that's another idea for developing Sinai, if you want, from an investment standpoint.
Perfect, sir. Sir, the state attaches great importance to the development of Bir Abd, and would you explain to us
And Rabah.
and Rabah, yeah.
Yes.
Would you please explain to us the reason?
Bir al Abd and Rab'a, as I am sure you know, was an area of some terrorism incidents a few years ago, about 3 years ago, I think. I'm not sure, around 3 years ago. And it was also a source of terrorist cells. So, of course, this, and by the way, Bir al Abd and Rab'a is one of the highly populated areas of Sinai. Of course, it's not like Arish or Rafah, but still, I would imagine at least each of them would have like 50,000 inhabitants. So it's, I mean, on Sinai scale, it is populated. And since we know that there was some kind of cells for terrorism in both of them, yes, of course, it needs a very special attention from the government to develop it. And I would recommend, again, from an economic standpoint, to start with developing the HR part of it, which is education in the first place, and health, hospitals, and at the same time establishing some kind of investments for the inhabitants to work in these sectors in both these areas.
Sir, how do you evaluate the government's efforts in providing, of course, water resources in Sinai?
Yeah, well, we know already from under terrestrial maps that there exist in Sinai good water resources, but as I explained a little bit earlier in this program, it cannot be used for long-term agriculture, but for seasonal agriculture. Yes, we should sort of promote this kind of seasonal agriculture, like wheat, corn, some of the vegetables, of course, growing vegetables. Yeah, in this respect, yes. And let's not forget that Sinai is an excellent place for two long-term plants, which is palm trees and olives. So exactly, olives
Honey
and
as
olive oil, of course.
And honey as well?
Honey, I'm not sure. Maybe, yeah, maybe honey would. I'm not sure about honey. Yeah.
Because honey needs mountainous areas.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, sir, how do you view the role of youth in Sinai development?
Youth, yeah. Youth needs a very special attention, especially those who are from the tribes of Sinai. They need very special, they need to be focus on them when it comes to education, integrate them in the Egyptian system, respect very much their culture, their tribal cultures, and try to elaborate it. Strengthen the education part, and when I speak about youth, then I would speak about two things: not only universities, because I know that there is already a university in Arish, but it needs to be highly elaborated. I am a university professor and I know what I'm speaking about. The University of Arish is not even like the very new university that was established in Al Alamein, for example, only 1 or 2 years ago. So this is something that is very important. And the other very important educational target for the youth in Sinai is technical education. And I mean technical education, I mean starting with the youth from the age of 14 up till maybe the age of 20, and focusing on their technical education in terms of all the economic activities and sectors that we have defined in this program.
Okay, sir, establishing a new wholesale market at the highest level in workshops and the industrial area of El Arish is one of the state's goals.
Yeah.
How do we turn this goal into a reality, and what are the impacts of having a wholesale market in this area?
This would go with the proposal that I made a little bit earlier, which is establishing a city state. Because if someone is going to take the idea, someone in the government, of course, is going to take the idea of establishing a city state, which is going to be a regional, or I don't want to say an international city state, but let's say a regional Middle East city state, then in this case we can speak of a parallel wholesale market that goes with it. Maybe we can even elaborate a little bit more and say that we can make like a small, very small Dubai in the area, where we can establish an area for re-export and establish the logistics for re-export in this area, which means, for example, bringing a lot of the products and goods that come from China going to Africa.
So what products, sir? This was a question I had, but I did not want to interrupt you. When we come to talk about a wholesale market at highest level in this area, what products are we going to be selling in this market?
Again, it goes parallel with the concept of the city-state. So if I'm going to establish a city-state, then I will need, let's take the example of Dubai and Jabal Ali, but on a very small scale, of course. So let's not go into high in the sky, but let's make a very small Dubai and the small Jabal Ali next to it. What does Jabal Ali do for Dubai? It's a logistic small harbor that helps Dubai. So if we have a city-state, let's say in Rafah, for example, and then we can have a wholesale smaller area next to it anywhere, and in this case, let me give you an example. We can have all these Chinese products coming from China towards, let's say, Africa. Forget about Europe for the time being. Let's say Africa. And then they will come in very huge bulk from China to this area, and then from this area they will be subdivided into, let's say, going into 10 or 15 African countries in smaller bulk. So where does this take place? In Sinai, for example.
Perfect, sir. Sir, how far eliminating terrorism operations in Sinai would contribute to building a bright economic future?
Of course. This is a basic question, because again, when we have unrest, when we have turbulences, economics is going to go down, and the opposite is true. So if we succeed in eliminating what I hate to call terrorism, of course this will help to boost all the economic parameters in this area. But again, this is a question of national security, and national security is very important for economics. We have economists like myself, we have an inferiority complex. Why?
Why?
Why? Okay, why? Because we do not take decisions. We recommend decisions. At the end of the day, who takes the decision? It's the policymaker.
Exactly.
And sometimes the policymaker would come, we would do our economic research and feasibility studies and everything, and we recommend a certain direction. And then the policymaker, I don't want to say politician, he will come via his parachute from above and say, oh, no, 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 you know nothing. There is issues of national security. So at the end of the day, this created this kind of inferiority complex. Because at the end of the day, yes, we do.
It creates fear as well.
Sorry?
It creates fear as well.
Well, not for economists, because economists.
Why would you? But for an investor.
Investors, yes, but investors are not economists.
Exactly.
Investors are businessmen. We are not businessmen. We are very conservative.
But you work parallelly, both economists and
we are like the conscious of the businessman.
Exactly.
Yeah, but we are not as optimistic. Economists are not as optimistic as businessmen.
Because the businessmen want to with their money at the end of the day back and more.
Exactly, but I wish I was a businessman. So
Okay.
they are more joyful than. Let me give you another fact about economists, which we're not going to close with it because it's not. Economics is this. This, by the way, is a definition of one of the very famous economic historians, Malthus. And Malthus said something. He said that economics is a gloomy science. So.
Is it gloomy?
Gloomy science.
Science.
It's a gloomy
Economics
science.
is a gloomy science.
It is a gloomy.
I graduated from Faculty of Economics and Political Science. My major is economics.
Okay.
But I'm nothing to be compared to you.
Well. I mean, you don't look gloomy at all. Thank God.
Thank you so much, Dr. Amra Hamid, Professor of Economics. Of course, it was a pleasure to have you in this very special day. There was more I needed to talk to you about, especially the idea of the liberation of Sinai coinciding with the genocide that's happening in Palestine nowadays, of course, on the Palestinian people and Palestinian civilians, which is very annoying, but unfortunately there's no time. But we'll always have you with us as a distinguished guest because of course, you're an intellectual, informative person with charisma, of course, that it's worth respect. Thank you very much for being with us today on this very special day.
Thank you very much, Rana, for receiving me today and with your very clever and wise questions and topics that you have raised. And I would like also to take this opportunity and coincidence to wish all our brothers and sisters, the Copts and Christians of Egypt, for their great days this week, their festivals, of course.
Dear viewers, stay tuned. We still have more on today's episode of Nile Cruise. Don't go away.